Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily chart for the last several days. It always has been, but it's been increasing over the last 50 years since the government has been getting bigger. Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and welcome back to Coffee and Crypto Live. This is your weekly morning show where we bring you the latest and everything Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And in today's episode, is this rally ever going to resume? You know, we've talked a lot about this. Bitcoin has been in a major corrective movement ever since Inauguration Day when Donald Trump was inaugurated as our president, the 47th president of the United States. And Bitcoin has been in this major corrective movement. People are kind of freaking out. People are very scared. The fear and greed levels are like none that we've seen in a very long time. Even going all the way back to the previous bear market, we've not seen fear and greed levels such as these, the fearfulness. And so there's this overwhelming terror, this overwhelming fear that people have right now in crypto. And we want to discern when that's going to come to its conclusion. Because we've got two different camps here, right? We've got the camp that says the bull market's over. We're going to drop down to $30,000, and you should have sold at $109,000. Then you've got the other camp that thinks we're going to be at $100,000 once again by the end of March. Michael Saylor, for example, came out on Twitter recently saying that he believes Bitcoin will reclaim $100,000 by March. You have Larry Fink, the chief executive officer of BlackRock, for example, dropping a hint at Davos that we are looking at a $700,000 Bitcoin at some point in the not too distant future. So which is it? I do think the middle ground is, as usual, the correct answer, and I don't believe for a second that this bull market is over. What I do believe is that the exact thing that we've been explaining to you is going to happen over the last several months, what we've been explaining is going to happen for the next several months, is happening. Bitcoin needs to spend time right here in this range, healthily, between $74,000 and $91,000. We need to trade sideways, and we need to take a break. There's a reason for every season. Have you ever noticed that? There's a reason for the summer when the plants grow fast, and there's a reason for the winter when they all take a nap, right? There's a reason for the spring when you prepare, and there's a reason for the fall when you're spared from work and you rest, and you bring in the harvest, and then you look forward to resting. There's a reason for the seasons, and this season that Bitcoin is going through right now has just as much of a purpose to the health of Bitcoin and just as much of a purpose to the health of your financial journey as when Bitcoin was rallying aggressively to 109,000. That brought a lot of interest. That brought a lot of trust. That brought a lot of credibility to Bitcoin. Now we're a six-figure coin. Bitcoin broke over $2 trillion at that time. That was a very important, impactful event. But Bitcoin trading sideways here also has purpose. And you see, it really weeds out the wise from the fools. The fools are the ones right now who think that the market's dead and Bitcoin's going to disappear and cease to be an asset class, and it's going to go into a decades-long bear market, and it's just going to vanish. The wise among us understand that there is just as much work to be done right now as there was when Bitcoin was trading at 109,000, as there was when Bitcoin was trading at 73.8, and as there was when Bitcoin was trading at 31, our last three major highs. And those of us who are actually going to get somewhere with our journey towards financial sovereignty understand that that work continues no matter what the market is doing. Today, we're going to talk about why the market is trading sideways here, when it will stop, and much more importantly, what we should be doing right now. Because make no mistake, it is not Bitcoin that makes people rich. It is not how the government treats you that changes your financial destiny, and it is not your starting point in life that dictates your ending point in life. No, it is how you interact with the Bitcoin market that can make you rich. It is how you take self-responsibility and take accountability for your own life rather than blaming the government for everything that's wrong in your life or betting on the government to save your life. And it's how you choose to play the hand that you were dealt at the beginning of your life that determines your outcome. Make no mistake, your outcome is not simply an extrapolation of the inputs that you have been handed by your parents. It has everything to do with what choices you make today. So today we're going to talk about this market, and more importantly, we're going to talk about how to interact with this market that we may actually be successful. I want to give a big shout out to one of our sponsors before we read chat here, and that would be none other than NordVPN. If you have not already signed up for NordVPN, then you absolutely should. NordVPN is the premier provider of virtual private network technology and many other kinds of technologies to keep you safe while you browse online. Over on NordVPN, you're going to find a plethora of different products, not just the virtual private network itself, which will keep you private and encrypted while you browse online, but they've also got a lot of other things over here like NordPass, their secure password manager, which we love. I'm a huge fan of NordPass. They've also got NordStellar. It gives you management of your threat. You can basically see what your risk profiles are. You can see where people are going to try and attack you. NordProtect, identity theft protection. This is a big one. Remember when the CEO of LifeLock went on national television, put his social security number up there and said, see if you can steal my identity, and he got stolen like 12 times? That's not NordVPN. They're actually going to keep you safe. And of course, you've also got to factor in some of the things that NordVPN has inside of it. It's got a wonderful ad blocker. It's got anti-malware tools to stop different malware from being downloaded onto your computer and stealing your information. It's got anti-phishing stuff to stop you from accidentally clicking on links that have scams and different malware on them, right? It's got identity theft. It's got malware detection where it can see on the dark web monitoring, I'm sorry. It can see on the dark web to see if any of your information, like phone numbers, email addresses, social security numbers, etc., have been leaked online. Incredible piece of security and privacy technology, and you can sign up for the low price of like less than $100 for a 3-year plan. If you go to nordvpn.com/Jeb, 2-year plan plus 4 months, that'd be 24 months. nordvpn.com/Jeb. You can get the basic plan over here for $291 a month. That's $83 for the first 28 months, or $376 a month for the first 28 months. $105 for 28 months. Make sure you sign up with the link in the description box down below. Let's do this. Between the Aisles is in chat. Said Bitcoin is bipolar. Little bit. It's got multiple personality disorder. It's directed by the bulls or the bears, depending on the time. Let's read a couple more chats here. Billy Built is in chat. Queen's in chat. Christopher Ryan called out. Blasnik. Anthony Steady is in chat. Let's see. Satchet321. Somebody said, Jeb, who beat you up? What's with the sunburn? We spent 5 hours on the playground the other day with the kids. So yeah, I'm very red, aren't I? It actually kind of helped my complexion a little bit. Now, obviously, I look like I just took a bath in tomato juice, but either way, I do. My skin does actually surprisingly feel a little bit better. Anyway, Bitcoin right now is trading at $82,700. We have been almost entirely dormant for the last few days. We did basically nothing over the weekend. This was one of those weekends where Bitcoin kicked its feet up and did a movie marathon on Netflix, right? Does anybody have Netflix anymore? Does everybody move on to Disney Plus or Paramount Plus? I don't know. Bitcoin basically did nada over the weekend. What are you doing this weekend? I don't have any plans. You just stayed in, put on the fuzzy socks. That's what Bitcoin did. We did zilch. Bitcoin did nothing. And you know what I have found over the almost 8 years that I've been working in this market? There is nothing worse for sentiment than boredom. When Bitcoin is crashing, oh, there's tons of viewership. When Bitcoin's crashing, oh, there's tons of volume. When Bitcoin's crashing, there's tons of trading. When Bitcoin's crashing, there's tons of news coverage. When Bitcoin's crashing, surprisingly, believe it or not, there's tons of new people coming into the space. Because people hear about Bitcoin and say, what's this thing? It's crashing through the floor. And they say, oh man, the last 2 months have been terrible, but my goodness, look at the last decade. And they start buying. No, it's not a crash that's terrible for Bitcoin. What is really bad for Bitcoin sentiment is actually this, the trading sideways. I mean, think about it. On your worst days, you at least learn something. If you look back on it, the days where you were the most miserable are the days where you did nothing. What is that people say? An idle mind is the devil's playground, right? When you're trading sideways and Bitcoin's doing nothing, it bores the heck out of people. When it's crashing, at least you can short it. I'm not saying I do, but you could, and a lot of people do. When it's crashing, at least you can say, I'm buying the dip, right? There's at least something interesting going on. Bitcoin is incredibly boring right now. And that presents a challenge to you. And we're about to jump into the chart. We're not going to spend the whole stream on philosophy. But that presents a challenge to you. What do you do when it gets boring. I read something recently that was very interesting to me. It said, if you go in your room and you try and spend an hour praying, watch how much your flesh tries to fight you. Oh, I could be scrolling X. Oh, I could be watching Jeb's YouTube videos. Oh, I could be doing this. Oh, I could be doing that. Oh, I could be off running. Oh, I could be cleaning the dishes. Oh, I could be doing this. I could be doing that. When really there's nothing better. There's no better use of your time than praying. All right, now, for those of you who are like, yeah, I'm not a Christian. Okay, fine. Let's say you want to sit down and spend an hour charting. And you're freaking bored because there's nothing going on. How much is your flesh pulling at you, saying, I don't want to be here right now. This is boring. This is bad for me. Now that we've got that mental picture, this is boring. I don't want to be here. I'm not saying prayer is boring, but the fact is your mind thinks it is. Your flesh thinks it is and hates it, right? Our natural state does not like boredom. It's uncomfortable for us. That's why we have these things in our pockets, right? Because everybody can't go 5 minutes without being bored. I love being bored, man. It's one of my favorite things to do. Your mind gets to go crazy. It's where imagination runs rampant. But let's put that in our mind. Boredom is painful. Now, think about any time you've ever seen in a movie or in real life somebody who's extremely wise depicted. What are they doing? They're doing this number, right? They're out in the middle of nowhere and they're doing nothing except in here. That's what they're doing. Think about a wise person in your life. What do they like to do? They like to spend time doing nothing, except they are doing something. They're spending time learning amongst themselves. Me, myself, and I, we're all working together to figure something out. There's almost this connection between the fact that boredom is painful and wise people seek things that are on the outside boring. Why? The reason is because it is during a time like this where Bitcoin's doing a whole lot of nada that you learn discipline. Have you ever heard the phrase, no pain, no gain? That's what we're talking about here. You go to the gym. You got under the bench, right? We're just going to put our 225 up here. Get under the bench. That's going to hurt. If you manage to get that up, it's going to be painful. Unless you're like really jacked. Most of you, 225? Me? Yeah. That's a lot of weight. It's not going to feel good in the moment. But the people that succeed in the gym understand something. So long as I'm not setting myself up for injury, which you can very easily, but so long as I'm not setting myself up for injury, the pain's a good thing. You ever heard the phrase, feel the burn, right? That's not Bernie Sanders' phrase. That started in the gym. Feel the burn, man, you know? You've got to feel pain to grow. And some of you guys need to stop complaining that the market's not doing anything. Because the fact that you're uncomfortable when the market's not doing anything reveals that you need to learn discipline. It is not about what you do in one day, 1 week, or 1 month when you are highly motivated and you got your headphones on and you're bopping around to some rap music and you're like, boom, I'm going to go kick somebody's butt, right? I'm going to go dominate in the marketplace. It's not about motivation. It's about consistency. It's about showing up every single day and doing what you need to do. It's about allowing your dollar cost average to go through every single day or every single week or every single month, whatever it is, even when you think there's no point. If your convictions have not changed, if your convictions are still that you believe in Bitcoin, then boredom ought to be a time for you to refine yourself. You don't win on the easy days. Anybody can win on the easy days. There's no competition there. You win on the hard days when other people start dropping out. The way you beat the market is you stay through the bear markets like we always have. The reason that you win is because when it gets difficult, you say, over my dead body, am I going to stop? You can put a gun to my head, but I'm not going to stop. I've told people that. People are like, Chad, you got to stop preaching the gospel. Over my dead body. It's that simple. You'd have to kill me. I'm not going to stop because I have conviction and I believe in what I'm saying. It is true and it's good and it's helpful. And while Bitcoin is nowhere near as important as the gospel, I do also believe in Bitcoin. And so when Bitcoin's trading sideways here and doing a whole lot of nada, doing nothing, I see it as an opportunity for myself to grow in my patience, to grow in my wisdom, and to grow in my discipline. And so we've got to take the market, go to the market with that approach. That this is painful because it's boring, and boredom is one of the greatest opportunities for us to grow in our wisdom. Why? Because the very thing that makes something boring is the lack of activity. And the lack of activity means that you're not distracted, which means you can focus on wisdom. There's a reason that in the Bible, someone was listening, trying to find God's voice, but he was not in the tornado. He was not in the wind. He was not in the earthquake, right? He was not in these things that are loud. He was in the whisper of the wind. You've got to listen. You got to allow yourself to be quiet and be still from time to time. And this is a great opportunity to do so in Bitcoin. There's nothing going on. Fantastic time to reflect. This is a little miniature winter. What have people done for eons during the winter? They've reflected on what happened in the last year so that they can be refined for next year. So, even before we get into the charting, as Bitcoin's doing nothing right now, this is an excellent time for you to reflect on what you've done during this time right here. What actions have you taken? What good choices have you made? What bad choices have you made? What relationships have you made? What relationships do you need to distance yourself from? What influences have you allowed into your spirit? What influences should you not allow into your spirit? Reflect on this time. Reflect on the investment decisions you made. During this time, did you take our advice and create an investment plan where you detail every interval, I will invest X into Y on Z? Every day, we invest X amount of dollars into Bitcoin on a certain exchange. That's our investment plan. I left out two of the variables there for our own privacy, but it is a considerable amount. We began following that teaching to the flipping T on multiple cryptocurrencies during this season. I'm very glad we did. And in this period where Bitcoin's doing nothing, I can reflect on the fact that we did that and say, wow, that was a good choice. We're going to keep that up. I can reflect on this time and say, man, I screwed up here. We're not going to do that again. I can reflect on this time and say, man, we've ended up getting really consistent with our content. I love that. I can reflect on this time and say, hey, we got a new editor. I love that. We actually have the ability to put out a lot of edited content. Hey, we've put a ton of content in the Financial Sovereignty Academy. We need to keep that up. This is a time to reflect. What do you need to reflect on? If you'd like my help with any of that, just so you know, I am a financial coach, and this is what I specialize in. This is my God-given calling, is to help you guys succeed financially. So if you're interested, you can sign up for our financial coaching with the link in the description box down below. I'd be more than happy to meet with you one-on-one, help you reflect on what has been so that we can prepare for what is to come. Now we're going to transition into a time of technical analysis. Before we do so, I want to go ahead and read a little bit of chat. Very much appreciate all of you guys for being here. All right. John said, yeah, I'd like to see all this comment about pain, weakness, leaving the body, etc. Tell me when you're down $1 million in the last 2 months. John, if you're down $1 million in the last 2 months, you definitely need some people to come around you and love on you. Like, what happened, my friend? My gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Let's see. Jeb, can you explain M2 Global in relation to Bitcoin? Probably. We'll look at that. Cryptoni doing a great job of dropping our links to our different academies and stuff in the comment section, in the chat. Make sure to sign up for those things. Let's see. Morning, Jeb and fam. Good morning, Philly Skills. Good morning to you. Let's see. Satchet321 said, missed quite a few since you've been back, Jeb. Crazy days at work. I understand. Called out said, Jeb, what's up, brother? Love you. The sky and the ceiling. How you feeling, my friend? Love you back. Good morning, Jeb. God bless you and your family. Thank you. He has and does. Grand Roofing Incorporated in chat. Are we really calling this tiny bounce a rally? Bro, it is true that in bear markets, we get happy with the little things. Yeah, no, I'm not calling it a rally. We're trading sideways. There's nothing going on here. Let's see. Grand Roofing Incorporated is in chat. Said, hi, Jeb. Good morning. Hi. How are you? Blasnik said, can you go over ETH? Ooh, we got a lot to cover, don't we? We'll try. We'll try. No promises. No promises. We'll try. Let's start with Bitcoin. So, this is why we've talked a lot about the philosophy of things, because there ain't much to talk about on the technicals. The one thing that we are still looking at here is that there is bullish RSI divergence, and I'm very happy about that, right? And you can even see that showing up here on our the crypto Jeb oscillator. We can see the bullish momentum is uptrending. The bearish, the bottoms here are downtrending, which is bullish RSI divergence, bullish crypto Jeb oscillator divergence, and also bullish MACD divergence. We do have a buy signal coming in here, which is a pretty low buy signal. This is one of the lowest buy signals we've seen in a very long time. So MACD is making me pretty happy right now. The last time that we saw a buy signal this low, not a buy signal, I'm sorry, a bullish cross this low on daily chart was back here. And that would have been in May of 2021. And at that point in time, Bitcoin had dropped down to about 30,000 from around 65, and it ended up rallying another 123% over the span of the next 180 days or so. So I do believe that the bottom is close. I'm not convinced that it's in just yet, because we need to see a lot more momentum than we do right now. This is signaling that as far as price is concerned, the majority of this correction is probably over. As far as price is concerned, not time. Remember, the bottom is measured in time, in temporal space, and in price space, right? As far as price, $74,000, $75,000, $76,000 was probably the bottom or close to the bottom. I'm not convinced it's in yet, because we do have this strong downtrending level of resistance that Bitcoin's going to have to break through. But if Bitcoin is able to confidently break bullish here, then that is where we would likely end up seeing some fireworks. My concern is this. I think you're going to see some fireworks over the next couple of days. Reason is we got this strong downtrend, strong uptrend, and it looks a lot like what we had going on back here, except this was not a bullish breakout. We had our downtrending level of resistance, uptrending level of support. Bitcoin got wedged in here, and we ended up breaking bearish right there below $95,000, capitulating all the way down to $78,000 in a very rapid movement. Following that, Bitcoin went on a very large rally. We back-tested our previous support turned resistance, and we turned $95,000, which was support architecture, into resistance, confirming our new market structure of us trading between $74,000 and $91,000 to $95,000 broadly. We are probably going to see something similar happen, because Bitcoin has not fully capitulated to the bottom of this range, which sits at about $73,800, that being the previous all-time high, about $73,800, $73,900, $74,000, however you want to call it, somewhere right around there. We've not completely capitulated down to the bottom, and so you're most likely going to see more corrective movement in the short term, as this bounce has proven to be exceptionally weak. We hit this level of resistance. In fact, we didn't even manage to hit this level of resistance, because the level of resistance would have been up here, technically. We're drawing it lower to accommodate the most recent lows, but technically, if you're drawing this downtrend, it sits right here. So either way, Bitcoin is running into an issue where either right now, it could break bearish here because of the kind of line of best fit sitting between these 5 highs, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, these little ones. Or you could just go off of those 1, 2, 3 highs right here, and then you would see that Bitcoin might attempt a rally up here. But the issue with that notion is that Bitcoin has largely kind of curved over on itself and is more so trading sideways now than to the upside. And it's not exactly flagging out bullish either, because we did do a bull flag. We did create a bull flag over the end of last week here, but we broke bearish out of it, establishing a new trading range. So not extremely confident in the short-term price of Bitcoin. This is the same concern that we've been listing for a time. And the reason for this goes back out to that long-term analysis that we need to look at the FRVP and see that we just simply have not really filled in this gap to the extent that we need to. You can see below this line at 74,000, there's an enormous amount of volume. You can see above this line, right up to right up around 92 to 93 and higher, there's an enormous amount of volume, but there just isn't much right here. If you kind of draw just like an average of where the volume is in these levels, you're going to see the average is probably right here, and probably about right there. So in this range, we have not traded enough. As we stay in this range, this line will move up, and it'll move up, and it'll move up, and it'll move up, and you have stronger support, then you have resistance, and so therefore Bitcoin will most likely break the resistance, and we will end up moving back towards all-time high. However, that's going to take time, and we're not there yet. So Bitcoin still needs to spend a few more months here, maybe not necessarily a few more months, but at least several more weeks here. Our prediction last week was that we need to see another 4 to 12 weeks sideways here between 73 and 91 ish. So if we extrapolate that and we call 10 weeks of 70 days, right? About 70 days, you're looking probably out towards here. I think right around the end of May. Let's call it May 31st. I think around probably May 31st or so. Right around here is probably around the time that we'll be breaking bullish. And in fact, I might even tentatively say a little bit sooner. Let's just call it May 20th. Let's call it May 25th. Call it May 25th. Somewhere probably around May 25th, I think, is around the time that we'll probably be seeing a bottom. That'll give us time to create some kind of cup and handle formation almost here and continue to the upside. And if we were to draw a market that looks like this, then you can see that it actually makes a lot of sense in a longer term horizon, doesn't it? And we spend another 3 to 11 weeks at this point now. It would make a lot of sense if that's how Bitcoin were to go through the bottom. If we were to not quite be done with the bottom, we need to finish building out the bottom, and then we start gradually going into an uptrend as Bitcoin really flushes out the bears. That's kind of what I'm expecting is going to happen here. And it makes a lot of sense too, because on the daily chart, you can see that we're still very much under a sell signal from Lux Algo. You can see that our support zone here on Lux Algo is diving. It also means that if we did dive down here to 73, then trend catcher would probably drop down to like 81, which if we bounced off of 73, it'd be pretty easy to break through that, which would lead to a buy signal probably sometime here around the end of April, which would mean that we'd be moving into an uptrend moving into May. So March and April are probably going to be a kind of a winter for crypto. It's going to be relatively boring. But as we talked about earlier, winter is just as important as spring. It's not more important. It's not less important. It's just as important because it serves a purpose. There's a reason that God made winter. Many reasons. One of them is so that you can reflect on what happened during the previous spring, summer, and fall. And as Bitcoin is going through this sideways correction, the wise among you will look back and learn from your experience. The foolish among you will spend the entire time waiting and begging for summer to come back. Winter has a purpose. I hope you have prepared for it. I hope you're not so overextended that you have to now take out your investments at $82,000 because you didn't do what we said and you didn't live on less than you made and you don't have savings. There's a reason that we follow the laws of money. It's for this one reason. During this correction, it does not change anything about how my family lives their life. It makes zilch difference to our financial decisions because we live on less than we make. We've built cash savings, a lot of them. We've paid off our debt, right? We've worked very hard to do these things, and it's not always been easy. There's been a lot of lean months because of the mistakes that I've made in the past. But because in times that are spring, we've made preparation, because of times in summer when we've done a lot of work and brought in as much as we can, because of in times of fall, we've brought in as much as we can and stored up for the winters, and because of in the winters, we've had time to look back and learn. During this winter, we don't have to be afraid because we live on less than we make. We have stored up savings to cushion us against whatever the market does. Think about an agrarian society, right? What do? They store up grain in a silo so that when winter comes and nothing's growing, they don't starve to death. It's exactly what you need to be doing in your investments. You need to have savings, and you need to live on less than you make so that when the market crashes, it shouldn't phase you. The litmus test is this. If you're married, if you have kids, if you have close relationships, does the way that the market is acting affecting your behavior? Are you lacking in peace? Are you lacking in joy? Are you lacking in patience? Are you lacking in kindness? Are you lacking in gentleness? And are any of those lacks of the fruit of the Spirit rooted in fear over what the market's doing? Because, my friend, you can sit here and you can blame the market, or you can realize that you have no control over the market and you can blame yourself, take accountability, and use these next couple of weeks that we're predicting here of sideways consolidation to read your Bible, get to know Jesus, and learn how to follow the laws of money so that you don't have to have a lack of joy, of peace, of kindness, of gentleness, of love, of patience, of humility during these times. Because what I see all too often is people like you and people like me that are heavily involved in markets, they turn into jerks when the market is down, and they turn into arrogant snobs when the market is up. And neither is helpful. You don't want to be tossed around to and fro because of the direction of the market. Some of you are saying, Jeb, what the hell does that have to do with my portfolio? It has everything to do with your portfolio, because your portfolio ought to serve you and your family and their spiritual well-being. I have exactly this much interest in making you rich and a jerk. I have exactly this much interest in helping you save money and losing your soul. That's our message, and it's not going to change. I love you enough to tell you that there are dangers that come with mismanagement of money. There is a reason that in the 31,103 verses in the Bible, over 2,000 of them are talking about money, because it's an important topic that is very easy to screw up and will hurt you and the people around you if you do screw it up, which is why today you need to make a decision to choose to be financially sovereign and in charge and in control of your wealth, lest you become a slave to it. Which is why we preach the message of financial sovereignty every single day here on this channel. So let's read some chat. I really appreciate all of you guys for being here. Let's see. Someone said, dude, you have a hell of a mindset. I do. I know what I'm talking about. And if you listen, you'll learn. Some people say, Jeb, you're so confident. Yeah, and say that's pride. That's pride. No, it's not. Pride is an exalted view of self. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking It's thinking about yourself less. That's true. But what humility truly is not. I heard someone say this recently, and I really appreciated this because this was a very good way of stating it. Someone said, "Why is his head red?" We spent like 5 hours on the playground with our kids and with Grandma and Grandpa. So got burnt to a crisp. Sorry. Yeah, I know. It looks like I took a bath in tomato juice. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, although sometimes that is what humility requires. Humility is having an accurate view of self, not having a poor view of self. It is not pride when I tell you that what I'm teaching you is true and you ought to listen. That's not pride. That's authority. I know what I'm talking about, and you need to listen. And the reason is because what I am talking about is not my own. It is from the Holy Scriptures themselves. These 7 laws of money are intrinsically woven throughout the entire course of the Bible. And we need to obey what God says on money. All right. I'm just saying one day the clickbait is that we're going to $150,000. Next we are dumping down. It's all clickbait nonsense with all these YouTubers. Roger Smith, you have to understand something that I've been dealing with since the beginning of time. There are different time frames. I have literally been addressing this exact same criticism for like 6 years. This has been going on since the very beginning. When you're talking about what's going to happen in the next week, yeah, we're probably dropping down to $74,000. We very well may go through a corrective movement here. When we're talking about what's going to happen in 4 months, I think we would agree that's a different time frame, right? When we talk about where Bitcoin's going to be here, and when we talk about where Bitcoin's going to be here, would you agree that they're probably going to be 2 different prices? When we say Bitcoin's going to 150,000, for any of you who have paid attention, we've talked about how $150,000 is probably going to be coming towards September or October. When we talk about a dump, we're talking about what might happen in the next 2 weeks. They're 2 entirely different topics. That's a little bit like saying there's war in Ukraine. That's a little bit like saying there's war in Ukraine and there's peace in the United States, and then saying I'm contradicting yourself. Well, what is it, Jeb? Is it war or is it peace? Well, it's both. They're 2 different places. I mean, come on. You know? It's that simple. It's that we're not going back and forth. We've had an extremely consistent perspective on this market all year, and for a lot longer than that. Our perspective since about the time we hit 109 and started rejecting from there, because at the time it kind of seemed like we would keep going. But about a couple of weeks after we hit 109,000, we started saying we're going to drop down to $73,800. We were saying that when Bitcoin was trading at 97, 96. People did not like it at the time. They were ticked off. Jeb, what are you talking about? And then we dropped down to 76. And now we're saying that we're going to spend more time down here. And later on, towards the end of May, we're probably going to rally back up towards all-time high. If we're incorrect on that, then I will be the first one to tell you. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Let's see. Now, I do also want to let you guys know that there is a giveaway going on right now, kind of a giveaway going on right now that I don't want you to miss. Go ahead and see if I can pull it up here. I don't think it's expired. I think there's one more day. We'll see. Let's see. Let's find out together. Oh, never mind. It's expired. I take that back. Well, I will go ahead and show you what was going on here, and there will be more. So stay tuned. There was this CryptoJeb spinner game going on, where you could, spin the wheel and get up to 1.2 Bitcoin, and you can get spins based on your trading volume. We're gonna have more of these. More of these are coming. So if you have not already, make sure to sign up for BloFin with the link in the description box down below. Why should you do that? BloFin is the #1 place to trade in all of cryptocurrency. They've got all the markets you need, and the markets that they have are fantastic. When you come over here to the spot market, for example, they have the trading interface, which is perfect. They have everything that you need here. They have the order books. You have the trading view integrated chart here, where you can come here and actually bring in your moving averages, right? This is amazing. I love this. You can come in here. You want to do FRVP? Boom. Oh, excuse me, not fixed range volume profile, but for example, you want to do, let's see, moving averages, right? Want to do your moving averages? Boom. Bring in a moving average, come over here, adjust it. See? You can do your charting just like you're in TradingView right over here. Yep. See that? So you got your charting here, you've got your order books, you've got your trade history, you've got your trading window right here, which is phenomenal. Of course, as with a lot of exchanges, but BloFin does it the best. You have the ability to kind of move everything around, set up your trading interface however you want. They've also got over here, they've got demo trading, which is pretty amazing. This is something that's really good for you guys. It wants me to log in to show you, but you've got demo trading over here so you can get practice, with the market before you go and actually start putting a lot of real money, real skin in the game. It's really good. It's kind of like paper trading. You also have, of course, the futures market over here. So if you guys are using leverage, as always, please be very careful with leverage. But I do know a lot of you use it, and if you're going to use, I want you to use the right exchange because I want to minimize your risk curve. If you're going to use leverage, BloFin's definitely the best place to do it as well. You can see your leverage over here. For example, right here, it's 10x. You can adjust it. A lot of different things that you can do here. It is the best exchange in crypto right now. It's where everybody is. There's all kinds of trading competitions going on, all kinds of ways that you can earn. They've got copy trading. They've got some really good copy traders over there. They've got different earn programs. If you've not signed up for BloFin yet, this is the time to do so. That's kind of what winter is all about, right? It's looking back so we can look forward, right? We're looking back. What did I do wrong? Maybe you're looking back and you're saying, man, I didn't have a good exchange. The exchange I was using, I didn't like. Or you might look back and say, I didn't have an exchange, and in the next cycle, I want to get into trading. If that's the case, BloFin's a place to go, so make sure you sign up with the link below. All right. Any other big comments that we want to address, we'll go ahead and do. I don't understand why people are saying that they're being censored. John Doe, are you saying that? Let's see. I don't know why I would do that. Oh, well, here's something that's pretty exciting. I do want to let you know about this. We'll talk about more here in a minute. We are going to be working on community features for Financial Sovereignty Academy. I don't know when they're going to launch because I want to make sure that when they launch, they're amazing. But they are in the early stages, and you guys will be seeing that. You guys will be seeing some more information on that in the next Financial Sovereignty Academy patch notes. But community features are coming where you definitely won't be censored because it's not going to be on YouTube. It's going to be most likely on Discord. So a CryptoJeb Discord that is fully moderated, built out, and I'm in almost every day is on its way. And you're going to be able to get access to it through an upgraded version of the Financial Sovereignty Academy. So make sure to stay tuned. That product is very much in the ideation and kind of the planning phase, but it's coming, and I cannot wait because that's going to be the place that we do our group coaching. That's going to be the place that I do, our calls where we do our live training, all kinds of stuff like that. So make sure to stay tuned. That is coming, and it will be an upgraded feature that you can get access to through CT2A or the Financial Sovereignty Academy. So look out for that probably later this year. Right now, we're just focused on getting as much video content in Financial Sovereignty Academy as we possibly can, but more content will be coming. All right, so where are we going next? We kind of roughly outlined this model based on all the analysis that we've done here on the stream for the last several weeks. I mean, we've been basically talking about the same model here for like the last 2 months, right? And this is about what we expect is going to happen. But yeah, that looks really simple. Well, I know the market typically follows a pretty simple pattern. When you really boil it down, Bitcoin did this. That's pretty much what Bitcoin has done for the last 2 years. You can zoom in and make it more complicated, but this line right here is basically all Bitcoin's done. It's like not that complicated. Bitcoin did this, and then this, and then this, right? It's just not that, it's not that much. It's not that fancy. mean, you could even say it kind of curved down here. That might be more accurate, right? But if you take like a 20 moving average through the weekly chart, you'll see it's basically the same line I just drew, right? It's not that complicated. It's just so when we say, all right, Bitcoin's probably going to kind of do this number, well, that kind of fits because it's not as complicated as people make it out to be. We have to figure out what the line's going to look like, but the line itself is probably not going to be that fancy. So what happens after that? The last two pieces of this puzzle, before we wrap it out, are as follows. What do the next 6 months look like? And how do we prepare for them? Make no mistake, wisdom without action is vain philosophy. I have no use for someone who spends all day thinking and no day acting. They think they have all the answers, but will never know because they never went into the marketplace to find out. You know what you call that person? A critic. They think they know everything, but let's see it. It was Teddy Roosevelt who said, let me just go ahead and pull this up. The arena. You guys have heard this before. I'm going to go ahead and read this to you because this is exactly what we're talking about right here. Teddy Roosevelt said this in a speech. It was a much longer speech than this, but this is the most quoted part of it. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. No, the critic belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who never know victory nor defeat. Friends, we cannot just talk about where the market's going to go and not act upon it. Because it is not the critic who counts. It is not the philosopher who counts. It is the doer of deeds who counts, in the words of our great president of old. So, let's understand where the market's going to go, but let's also talk about application. I firmly believe that this is what the next 6 months is going to look like. I think Bitcoin will spend the next 6 months working its way back up into a parabolic rally, and sometime around the end of this year, you'll be trading at $150,000. Why? Well, we've got a lot of fundamental reasons to believe that. We're most likely going to have legislation coming through at least 1, if not 10, states in the union to acquire Bitcoin on the state level. You're also most likely going to have acquisition at least through the president's executive order of Bitcoin for the United States Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. It is less likely, although still possible, that Senator Loomis is able to push through the Bitcoin 2025 Act, I believe it's called, where we have the new Strategic Bitcoin Reserve created by legislation in Congress. One of those events is most likely going to happen. You're also going to continue to see institutional acquisition. And as we've talked about in a recent video, the overall levels right now of over-the-counter Bitcoin are at their lowest that they've ever been. They're currently sitting at about 147,000 Bitcoin on over-the-counter markets, whereas 3 years ago they were sitting at over 600,000. Institutions and big money players have acquired so much Bitcoin that pretty soon they're going to have to start acquiring on the spot market. And when you acquire on the spot market, you end up driving the price of the spot market. When you drive over-the-counter, you don't have a direct impact on the market. The only impact that you have is on the circulating supply of Bitcoin, so it's a less pronounced effect. There's going to be a massive rally. Here's another thing. Quantitative tightening is coming to its conclusion. If we look at the United States Central Bank balance sheet, I don't know if USC BBS is going to show this just yet, but if you look down here, the Fed has started to slow down quantitative tightening. This is not the best chart for it. I need to find the other chart for it. But there are charts floating all over the internet right now that the Fed has effectively ended quantitative tightening, which means that they are now possibly ready to continue quantitative easing. That is probably going to become an issue for the United States Federal Reserve as the United States stock market continues to dive. U.S. stock market has gone through a bounce recently, but with all of the current concern over tariffs and with the Trump administration almost certainly attempting to drive the stock market down intentionally right now while they're doing the tariffs, they already know the tariffs are going to crash the market, so why not go ahead and try and drive the market down so the Fed will lower interest rates so that we can refinance the debt. You see, what happened is that 4 or 5 years ago, the United States was spending to the tune of about $300 to $400 billion a year on interest on the debt because we had near zero interest rates. In fact, at some points, we had negative interest rates very, very briefly. And that was on the effective federal funds rate, right? So the interest rate on the United States debt was pithy. It wasn't very much at all. Well, the issue was after COVID, the interest rates went through the roof, and you saw interest rates go much higher. And when that occurred, the United States had to refinance a lot of its debt, and that's why the interest payment on the United States debt now is almost $1.1 trillion per year. It's increased by 300% in the last 5 years, even though the debt has only increased by about 80%. We've seen a massive amount of debt added on, but not 300%. Right? So the Trump administration is reportedly, and frankly, I believe it. I can't prove it, but I believe it. He hasn't said it, but I do believe it, that they're trying to drive the market down so the Fed will be forced to lower interest rates so that here in a few months, when a lot of the United States debt is refinanced, it is refinanced at a lower rate. That is almost certainly going to be the case. And so interest rates are probably going to go down. In the time that the interest rates are going down, you're probably also going to see some quantitative easing, again, towards the end of the year. QE is what drove the last bull market. If you look at Bitcoin's massive rally here, back in 2020 and 2021, mainly 2021, Q1 2021, it was precipitated by an enormous amount of liquidity injection called quantitative easing. In other words, this is the Fed purchasing treasuries and mortgage-backed securities out of thin air. Quick history lesson, quick economics lesson, rather. The way QE works, if you hear that buzzword, QE, what is that? QE is called quantitative easing. What is quantitative easing? They are, in a quantitative sense, easing the strain off the economy. How are they doing that? It's basically a fancy word for inflation. The Fed literally goes to the market, buys mortgage-backed securities from the banks and the other financial institutions, which package like 100 mortgages, 1,000 mortgages, 10,000 mortgages into a security and then trade them. The Fed buys those certificates, those securities, those mortgage-backed securities with money that doesn't exist. Literally, they just type the money in and give it. It never existed. They made it up and purchase the treasury, the mortgage-backed securities, and then they go to the treasury and they do the same thing, and they buy treasuries from the United States government to inject liquidity into the government. The mortgage-backed securities inject liquidity, money, cash, phantom cash, ghost cash, doesn't really exist, into the public market through the purchasing of mortgage-backed securities, and into the private market through the purchasing of mortgage-backed securities, that being the private sector, right? And then they put money into the public sector, into the government's hands by the purchasing of treasuries to the tune of $2-3 trillion, right? And so over the span of about 6 months, the United States Central Bank balance sheet, USCBBS, in other words, the amount of assets that the United States Federal Reserve holds that was purchased with money that is not real, increased by $3.5 trillion in less than a year, $5 trillion in total. We're not going to see that kind of quantitative easing, but we probably will see some. We're never going to see the central bank balance sheet go back down to $4 trillion unless the Federal Reserve is abolished. It's not going to happen. The Fed has a dual mandate to maintain low unemployment and low inflation, and they're not getting either one of them where they want them right now. And so their magic weapon is to print money. It's the entire reason that we have it's one of the entire reasons that we have inflation in the first place, is them trying to solve problems by effectively putting us into more debt. Phantom debt, you can't see it from the United States debt clock, but it's there. It's debt in the sense of it's not real money. It was not actually generated by capitalism. It's money that was made up on the spot. Nevertheless, the Fed is probably going to start QE again later on this year. And when they do, we know the impact that that's had on the market. When we printed $5 trillion, Bitcoin did this number. Now, they're probably not going to do QE to that extent unless there's a global crisis like the pandemic again, but they may add $1 trillion a year or $500 billion a year. Doing so, the last time it happened, was a massive bullish event for Bitcoin. So future, this is the philosophical, future later this year looks amazing. Next 2 weeks looks not great. For those of you who can't tell the difference, when we're saying it looks great, we're talking about over there. When we're saying it looks not so great, we're talking about here. There's a war in Ukraine. There's peace here. Well, which is it? There's war or peace? Well, it depends on what you're talking about. Okay, well, yeah, but you said 150. What do you mean 73? Well, they're two different times. Okay, cool. We got that? Awesome. So what do we do with this? Again, it is not the critic who counts. It is not the philosopher who counts. It is not the technical analyst who counts. It is the doer of deeds who counts. What deeds should we be doing right now? We should be obeying the laws of money. Jeb, you always say that. Well, it's almost because that's always the answer. We need to be ensuring that we're in full abject compliance to every single one of the laws of money. 0th law of money. It's not God, it's not your money, it's God's money, so obey him. You are not an owner, you are a steward. 1st law of money. Choose to be financially sovereign. We must have control over our wealth. We're to have kingship and dominion over our finances. We are not to be serving them, they are to be serving us. Big difference. Law 2. We must live on less than we make at all times. Unless somebody's dying, and sometimes somebody is dying, and you can't live on less than you make. But unless somebody's dying, live on less than you make. Law number 3, always have a written plan for your money. We call this a budget, we call this an investment plan, but we need a written plan. Law number 4, we must avoid debt. Law number 5, we must save and invest for the future. Law number 6, we want to be radically generous and establish prosperity in our life, in our family, right? We need to be more so moving in the direction of obedience to those 7 laws that we may be successful when it comes to finances. And we do that, in our case, through the Financial Sovereignty Way. If you walk through the Financial Sovereignty Way in the Financial Sovereignty Academy, I will teach you how to come into obedience with those 7 laws of money, and you will see the power of them. The position that we're in right now, having hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings, let alone in investments, gives us a peace of mind that we did not have when we had a lot of money in investments and no money in savings. Because you freak out and say, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to sell my investments. What happens if in a month I need cash and I don't have it because I don't have J.G. Wentworth on speed dial and I got to go liquidate my Bitcoin, but oh crap, Donald Trump said tariff 72 times and spent around 3 times in the bathroom and caused Bitcoin to crash 50%. Guess what? You can't sleep at night because you don't have savings. Okay, well, that's the consequence of not obeying the 4th law of money, save and invest. Or sorry, the 5th law of money, save and invest. Okay, well, let's say we don't have a plan. I can't sleep at night. You know why? Because I know that I'm racking up $2,000 a month of credit card debt every single month, and I know that the bill's going to come due. You know what I think of credit cards? Cut them into little bitty pieces, keep them in a baggie to remind you, death to debt. It's slavery. Kill it. Get a little violent with the debt. Get out the credit cards. Cut them up. Be done with them. You'll sleep better. But Jeff, I don't believe you. Try it. You remember how much peace you had when you were 12 years old? And the only thing you had to worry about was whether or not the French fries at McDonald's had just been made or if they'd been sitting there for 4 hours. That was peaceful, wasn't it? Because you didn't have any debt. Get out of debt. We're not being generous. I can't sleep at night. Why not? Because I feel like everybody hates me. You know why everybody doesn't like you? Because it's all about you. I can't sleep at night. Why not? Is it because your money is a slave over you? Is it because you're at a job that you hate, around people that you don't like, trying to impress people that you don't actually care about their opinion, you just have low self-esteem, and you're doing it because you make $200,000 a year and they're abusing you? I just got off a call with somebody last week like this. They're making a ton of money every year. And the company that they're working for could not possibly be more disrespectful to them. I told them, I was like, you are exactly the case study of why I teach financial sovereignty. You're making so much money, and on the outside, you look like you're doing really well because you're saving a bunch of money, you got really low expenses, but you're a slave. The company is not treating you correctly. Move towards financial sovereignty and sleep better at night because you're being respected by the people around you. Right? We must choose to be financially sovereign. So how do we apply the philosophy of financial sovereignty? How do we apply the philosophy of where we're going? Here's the action. Walk the steps. Get out of the debt over this time. Get the savings built. Get a budget. Start investing. Get an investment plan. Say, hey, how am I going to reap at $150,000? I want to be reaping at $150K. That means, what do I need to be doing now? What do I need to be doing today? What you need to be doing in 6 months is 6 months from you's problem. What you need to be doing now ought to be predicated upon the vision that you have for the future. For me, I have vision. This is where I want my family to be in a year. This is where I want my wife to be able to be in a year. This is where I want my kids to be able to be in a year. This is where I want to be able to be in a year. This is where I want our business to be in a year. And that informs my actions today. If we understand that the laws of money are true, that the financial sovereignty way is powerful, and we understand that the market is probably going to be extremely fruitful a year from now, then that informs our actions now. What are our actions now? If you have not walked through the financial sovereignty way, you need to do step 1, and you need to do it as soon as you finish hearing the sound of my voice. You need to get on your knees, and you need to admit to God that you don't know what you're doing with money, and you need to repent, and you need to ask for his wisdom in your life. While you're at it, give your life to the Lord Jesus Christ. He will save you. He already did. You just need to believe it. We have got to humble ourselves and say, you know what? I can't do this. I need Jesus. He already gave you everything you need to succeed in every area of your life. You need to obey him. The Bible explicitly teaches all 7 laws of money. They are not debatable. You need to follow them. That's your action. Walk the FinSov way. If you don't know the Financial Sovereignty Way, then you need to sign up for the Financial Sovereignty Academy with the link in the description box down below. Or you need to open your Bible and you need to go and try and figure it out yourself. But let me tell you something. There's a reason that there are teachers. Because you have the source material, and you have people that understand the source material and can help explain it to you. You can try and go teach yourself these things, and you can spend the next 30 years trying to figure out the Financial Sovereignty Way on your own, or you could just sign up for our academy and go through it yourself. You don't need us. I'm not necessary. But I can help. And so if you'd like help figuring out what you ought to do in the next 6 months with this market, what you ought to do in the next 6 months with your finances, what you ought to do in the next 6 months, 12 months with the stock market, whatever it is, I will help you. I will personally help you in financial coaching. I would be more than happy to meet with you. I have met with dozens and dozens of hundreds of people at this point in financial coaching. I love working with you guys. I'm always told 95% of the time at the end of a financial coaching session, someone says, this was an incredible use of my money. I'm so glad I'm here. Thank you so much for your help. Something to that effect. And the other 5% of the time, they just don't say it, but they thought it. Right? I don't remember ever a single time having somebody just like ticked off at me like, screw you, Jab, this is a waste of money. I've never had that. I've literally never had that happen. The other way is that with the Financial Sovereignty Academy, I will show you the steps. I will walk you through them. By the way, week 9 of the Financial Sovereignty Academy is coming out tomorrow. That is Investing for Extra Wealth Generation. That is a juggernaut of a video. It's coming out very soon. Week 10 is going to be shot tomorrow. It'll be going out next week as well. So stay tuned for that. And then we're going to go and backfill a lot of those other videos. There's going to be, by the end of next week, there will be over 4 hours of content in FinSov Academy. By the end of the year, I expect there will probably be over 15 hours of content in the Academy, and the community features will be built out. So if you have not already, make sure to go ahead and sign up for the FinSov Academy with the link in the description box down below. There are plenty of people that can teach you about how to succeed with money, but there's only one person on planet Earth that I know of that will teach you the doctrine of financial sovereignty, and that is right here. You can learn it in the Bible, and you need to go read your word, but I will show you exactly how to walk it here on this Academy and here on this channel. So if you've not already, make sure to subscribe to the Financial Sovereignty Academy. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And make sure to continue pursuing financial sovereignty, the wisdom of God revealed in Genesis chapter 1, verse 28, where he said, and God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. The word subdue in Hebrew can also be translated as sovereign. Have sovereignty over the earth, have dominion and kingship over the earth rather than it ruling you. You were put on this earth to be a king over the area, or a queen over the area in your life that you were given stewardship. Bring it under control and steward it well, and watch yourself be blessed. Sign up for the Financial Sovereignty Academy with the link in the description box down below. Subscribe to the channel. Let's read a little bit of chat, and then we're going to wrap it out. Appreciate you guys for being here. Let's see. If the U.S. doubles its currency by printing, what happens to the cost of good? It goes up. Why? Because the world's not priced in the United States dollar. Yeah, if you see a lot of printing, it's naturally going to end up causing inflation because the dollar itself became less valuable. Saylor said Bitcoin's going to 100K by the end of the month. I did see that, and he could be right. We could go through this much quicker. As we said, I think in about 3 to 11 weeks, Bitcoin will be back at $93,000, $94,000. So it is possible on the shorter time frame of that he could be right. Saylor, you've got to keep in mind, is the largest holder of Bitcoin on planet Earth other than Satoshi himself. And so Saylor very obviously can know things that we don't, right? He might know that something's on the horizon that we don't know. That he may know about some kind of news that's going to rally us up to $100,000 by the end of the year that we just don't have access to. So we'll see. Alex, Kryptoni said, Alex, I owe $30,000 on books to you. Let me just create that money, reduce the value by 50% and give it to you knowing it's worth 50% less. You're okay with that, right? Yeah, exactly. That's basically how it works. Let's see. Toe Surfer Network said, your stream is my #1 pick, dude. The fact that you've been guided to incorporate Jesus Christ. Amen, my brother. Amen. Absolutely. Let's read a little bit of chat. Appreciate all of you for being here. Dixie's dropping. That's true. That's true. All right. Appreciate all of you guys for being here. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. New video coming out here in about an hour, so stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Share the stream with somebody that you want to share it with, that you think could benefit from what we're talking about here. And just you watch. This is going to be big. What we're working on, it's going to be big. Appreciate you all for being here. We're going to wrap it out. Before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh, I got a real good